Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We're in the vehicle tab of the Entente Coalition today, and I just have to say a big thank you to Gatsu for the amazing information we've been getting so far. It's the whole reason I've been doing this series, and I hope you guys have found it as helpful as I have. So today we're looking at two very different, I guess, vehicles, and oftentimes the vehicle tab is a little bit of an odd duck. So you'll have one activation point left, and people will often throw it here because it's their only 1-point card remaining, and the vehicle tab for Entente is a little bit weird. So the Polo is a dedicated ATGM vehicle, 3 frontal armor, lots of ATGMs. I've never actually used all the ATGMs on a Polo before it died. And then the Prom S has some pretty unique characteristics as well. So you have the high HE main gun, you do have a couple of Conkers, 2 frontal armor. Gatsu, how do we make heads or tails of these two units, and what would you use if you only had one pick in the vehicle tab?
If I only had one pick in the vehicle tab, it would be most likely the Pram S, because it's very flexible at, for example, at mud fight, it's one of the strongest units. It's the combination of the concourse, but even when you fire the concourse missiles, you still get the 2450 range 5 HE, which is very good fire support. Like, the usage of it can be quite limited on some maps, so you cannot use it everywhere, but when you can use it, it's particularly powerful as infantry fire support and kind of like all-rounder.
And one thing I do want to point out with this too, it has an AoE gun. So even when this thing rolls a miss, if the miss is near the infantry, it still could do suppression damage, it still could do a little bit of splash damage to it. I've definitely seen that happen before, so the 35% base accuracy won't always feel like that from my experience. So what about... Go ahead.
It's got a quite high splash radius of like 45 when it comes to the HE, so yeah, it's definitely usable that way. Like, the higher HE values always have like higher splash radius, so it's not as high as a mortar, but it can definitely help.
Gotcha. So the Polo, dedicated ATGM vehicle, what's the best usage case for this?
From what I've seen, the Polo can be very good if you have like a spam of BVPs and they are firing their Malyutkas. And suddenly you have this thing combined in it, and suddenly the Malyutkas don't hit for 1, they suddenly hit for 24 heat, which can be very lethal to medium tanks, as the 24 heat can kill even like Leopard 2A1s in 2 shots.
Gotcha. And just taking a look at its characteristics, 20-second reload time, that looks like a salvo length of 4 before it has to do a longer reload. That can often take people off guard when they don't expect the, fire 1, 2, 3, 4 all in a row. Seems like
actually the salvo length on Polo is 6.
Wow.
So it's got like a 3 barrages, I would say, but you don't run out that often with this thing, and it's also like very affordable. Especially it's good in like a mech deck where you get a higher veterancy on it.
Gotcha. That'll increase the accuracy. 50% is a bit coin flippy. I mean, heads or tails type deal. But if you can take higher veterancy, you push that up a little bit more. And of course, outside of weird size shenanigans, vehicles don't have ECM, so every little bit of accuracy you can get does help. But it looks like we had a pretty firm recommendation there. If you have one option, take the Prom S. Not every map, not every situation, but when you have things like, I believe you mentioned mud fight, it can be a good choice.
Especially on mud fight, the Pram S is strong. Well, like, out of the Entente vehicle tab, there are also like a few vehicles that you can run also for memes, or like the vehicle like right next to it, the OT, can also work sometimes.
Yeah. 12 AP power, 10 rounds a minute, 10 points. I've used the Pass Praga before. I was playing a friendly game with Osama bin Lifton, and I sent up a quad stack of these behind infantry going into a town, and as soon as his infantry became exposed, it was pretty high DPS. I was impressed.
Yeah, but their usage is very limited, and people most often take them for base defense.
Yeah.
But the thing is that your deck still, same with Snezhka, has a very good other choice for that, and just comes from the infantry tab and...
Yeah, the BVP. Alright. Now, the only reason I brought these is because the previous game he had rushed me with Malyutkas, and when I say that, I mean, I think he bought 2 entire cards of Malyutka vehicles. So we were just sort of throwing memes back and forth. But that'll be our unit comparison for today. Check out the Prom S, you won't be disappointed by it, and we'll see you guys with another comparison tomorrow.